The U.S. government is refusing to give hardworking Americans their money, and I'm talking about our troops who refuse to get the C-19 vaccines. But now they're hitting back hard, and they're suing the federal government for billions of dollars. Do you think they deserve to win? Stick around until the end, folks, because we're going to be hearing from none other than the commander-in-chief, and it's a message that you definitely don't want to miss.
The Pentagon says it will not give back pay to military members who refuse to get the COVID-19 vaccine, even though that mandate has been lifted. More than 8,000 service members were dismissed for refusing the shot when it was required back in 2021. The Pentagon previously said it would consider reimbursing the former service members when the mandate was lifted.
Right now, we are not pursuing, as a matter of policy, back pay for those who refused the vaccine.
The problem now is that the Army wants them back. They're basically pleading with them. They even got The Rock to talk about recruiting new soldiers as he visited the Pentagon recently. But that's a pretty obvious sign of desperation, right? When you're willing to have Hollywood try to encourage the younger folks to take up arms for this administration. Now, these 3 class action suits have already been filed in the U.S. Court of Federal Claims. And if successful, billions of dollars will go to former members, especially given that money has already been set aside by Congress to pay for and other compensation before the discharge happened. However, here's where things get a little bit tricky. Military leaders are sticking to their notes, and they're pretty much saying that they're not paying these people back. Now, do you think that our troops deserve to get this money? Comment a quick yes or no down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the thumbs up button for the video and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that, you guys. All right, getting back on track here. So I think that our government and, of course, our military and its leaders are kind of on edge right now. I mean, we are on the verge of World War III, aren't we? And we're ruffling a lot of feathers, and one particular country who really doesn't like us, especially President Biden, just launched a spy satellite and are already looking at our bases from space.
North Korea claims to have captured images of U.S. military bases in Guam using its newly launched spy satellite. Now, South Korea's military assessed its flight path and has confirmed that the probe has entered orbit, but it warns that it's still too early to tell if Pyongyang's eye in the sky actually works. North Korea declared that it successfully sent its Malikyong-1 satellite to space in its 3rd launch attempt this year. The launch was overseen by leader Kim Jong-un. State media, KCNA, said that the satellite will go through adjustments in the coming days before officially beginning its reconnaissance mission on the 1st of December. Now, Pyongyang claims that the launch will help the country enhance its war readiness. Mr. Kim says that an array of spy satellites are needed to give his armed forces valuable real-time information about its enemies. The North says that plans to launch more satellites to survey South Korea is underway. Now, South Korea, Japan, and the United States have condemned that launch, calling it a violation of UN Security Council resolutions.
Now, just to clarify, folks, North Korea was already spying on our bases in Guam just hours after the launch. I mean, that's insane, isn't it? I know that there's a bunch of satellites up in space and we're probably spying on other countries as well. But, to be called as one of North Korea's enemies, you gotta wonder, are they getting help from anyone else to get these ships out to space? Because if you haven't heard, this is their 3rd attempt, meaning that they've already failed at doing this twice. So I guess 3rd time's a charm. I also can't not talk about North Korea meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin back in September. So I guess there is a chance that they're working together against the United States. An idea that's not as far-fetched as you might like to think.
Rare meeting today between 2 nuclear-armed adversaries of the U.S., North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, spending more than 4 hours together in Far East Russia discussing military cooperation. CBS's David Martin reports from the Pentagon, where there is growing concern about this rogue state alliance.
Kim Jong-un rode his armored mystery train into Russia to meet Vladimir Putin. But there was no mystery about the message the 2 dictators were sending. This is our new Cosmodrome, Putin told Kim. And the sight of them touring Russia's newest space launch facility looked like a down payment on a Russian promise to help North Korea develop more powerful missiles that could threaten the U.S.
So here's a thought, though. I thought North Korea could have saved a ton of money if they just used Google Maps, Now, I'm just kidding, of course, but you guys kind of get the idea, right? I mean, we've sold farmland that's close to our military bases to China, of all countries, right? What's there to hide at this point? And on that note, Let's talk about some good news, as 24 hostages have recently been released through a truce between Israel and Hamas, which includes 13 Israelis, 10 Thai citizens, and 1 Filipino. The Israel Prison Service in exchange released 39 Palestinian women and children from 3 prisons. The expectation is that 50 hostages of Hamas will be let go within these pauses in their battles. But of course, we have to address the big elephant in the room, right? When are they going to be releasing American hostages?
The Biden administration closely monitoring the hostage transfer. U.S. officials adding that the White House is, quote, doing all we can to free American hostages. Lucas Tomlinson has more from Nantucket, Massachusetts, where the president just may be commenting on that first wave of released hostages. Right, Lucas?
That's right, Kevin. Just moments ago, the White House saying President Biden will address the country in the next 30 minutes from here in Nantucket, no doubt talking about these hostages that were released today. And while it's good news that 24 hostages were released today, remember there's still 212 hostages that remain in captivity inside Gaza under Hamas. And of course, that includes up to 10 American citizens. President Biden, we heard earlier this week, sounding hopeful that up to 3 Americans would be included in this initial group of 50 hostages that are scheduled, that are expected to be released over the next 4 days. But today, no Americans were released, and certainly the country holds its breath, and from around the world want to see Americans being released as included in this for the hostages to get out now.
So yes, there is a chance that they still can release American hostages, but it's kind of disheartening to think that the president couldn't have pushed for them to be included at the very start. You see, the president had a hand in all of this. He said so himself, even though he was on vacation in Nantucket.
Today's release are the start of a process. We expect more hostages to be released tomorrow, and more the day after, and more the day after that. Over the next few days, we expect that dozens of hostages will be returned to their families. We also remember all those who are still being held and renew our commitment to work for their release as well. 2 American women and 1 4-year-old child, Abigail, who remains among those missing. We also will not stop until we get these hostages brought home and an answer to their whereabouts. I remain in personal contact with the leaders of Qatar, Egypt, and Israel to make sure this stays on track and every aspect of the deal is implemented.
Here's what I see from this, and feel free to correct me if my perception of this situation is just a little bit skewed, but kind of looks like the federal government under this administration is letting a lot of Americans down. I mean, American troops who just kind of want to get paid for what they're due, Americans at home who are struggling with everything that's going on here, and then of course, we got Americans who are overseas who just kind of always seem to be in danger just for being an American. And then you have this administration that wants to look out for everyone else, providing even billions and billions of dollars. Meanwhile, again, we're left out in the cold. But what do you guys think? Does this image make sense to you? Make sure you let me know in the comments section down below. And before I go, I want to thank y'all for being here. Keep safe, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one.